Are you prepared for a real emergency when off-roading? Are you prepared to grab your essential stuff within 30 seconds? And are you prepared to survive in the wilderness for 2 to 3 days after your car burned down and you lost everything? If you have to answer one of these questions with no or maybe, I suggest that you watch this video. Because in this video I will share with you how to prepare for a real emergency and how to survive it. Welcome back to Campfire Overland. We have been off-roading and overlanding in Africa, in South America, in Australia and also in Europe for more than 30 years. Luckily, we never had a serious accident or a serious emergency. But of course, we are prepared in case it happens. A serious emergency is not a situation where you have a failure of your engine, because in that case you still have your car with all your water and your food and your equipment with you, and your car is your shelter. I am talking more about a situation where water crossing goes terribly wrong in the middle of nowhere, or situations where your car burns down and you lose everything which is in there. In these kind of situations, you might only have 30 seconds to grab your essential gear and save yourself. 30 seconds is a very short timeline. You need to know exactly what to take. And for that, we have prepared this emergency bag or grab bag, however you want to call it. In this, we have everything the two of us need to survive in the wilderness for 2 to 3 days. This bag is designed for this specific circumstances. It is not designed for a doomsday scenario where civilization breaks down and you have to leave your home for a much longer period of time. In a minute, I will go through everything in this bag and explain the reasoning behind it. In total, this is quite handy and only weighs 4 kilograms and is, as I said, designed to help the two of us to survive in the wilderness. We have chosen a waterproof bag in order to avoid that we have to waterproof every individual item in this bag. And the bag is deliberately in orange because we want to make sure we can easily identify it even if the light is not perfect. You might ask yourself, why have these people not chosen a backpack? Fundamentally, there are 2 reasons for that. First of all, a backpack can be tricky as the straps, the carrying straps might get entangled when you try to grab it in a hectic situation. And secondly, and most importantly, we haven't chosen a backpack because it is not needed. If you lose your car due to a fire, for example, you should not start and go hiking. Because if you hike, you are moving away from your car and you might walk into areas where rescue teams have already searched for you and they're not coming back to there, so they will miss you. And also, if in case you are hiking and you see a helicopter or an aeroplane looking for you, you will not be able to quickly light a fire and send a signal to the rescue teams. So if you are in an emergency, stay with your car. A car is much easier identified from sky than a person. Birgit and I only have 2 seats in our car and we usually travel together. So this bag contains everything for 2 people. There's a lot of stuff in here. And of course, some of you might question certain items in that bag. That is absolutely fine. But at the end of this video, I will share with you one item that everybody needs for an emergency situation. So let's go now and unpack this bag. Here you can see the complete content of our survival bag laid out on a table. And I must say, I'm personally again and again surprised how much stuff fits into such a small bag. The bag is just a normal waterproof bag you can buy from any online store. This one is from Ortlieb, but there are many other brands out there. It's relatively thin, so it's lightweight and still does the job. And by the way, I'm not being sponsored by Ortlieb or by any other brand I'm mentioning in this video. We bought all these products ourselves in stores just as a normal customers, no discounts, no special prices. no rebates whatsoever. I've organized the content of our survival bag in 6 different categories, the 6 C of survival. The 6 C are communication, cover, campfire, circulation for water, calories and comfort. Let's start with communication. Our survival bag contains different types of communication. The first thing, and probably the most important thing, is the Garmin InReach. This one is about 8 years old. We bought it in 2018 when we traveled the Kalahari Desert in Namibia, but it is still perfectly fine. Today, Garmin sells these kind of products in a much smaller version. The nice thing about the Garmin InReach is not only that it has a SOS button which you can press and send a signal to a central hub. It also has the possibility to exchange text messages with your rescuers. So that enables you to deliver additional information on the number of people, potential injuries, and so on. And also, of course, it has the advantage that the rescue services can communicate with you. And that, I think, will give you a lot of additional comfort in an emergency situation. The other nice thing about the Garmin InReach is that you can actually track your travels and share your current location. We have set it in a way that every 10 minutes a breadcrumb with our current location is being stored in the cloud. And then you can share it with other people, okay, or you can even make it public. What we have done is that we share this with our adult sons back in Germany, so they always know where we are. And in case they see that we are stuck in a certain situation for a longer period of time, they can check with us and see if everything is okay, and then inform the rescue services. So you might ask your question, why not using a mobile phone? And of course, the iPhone 14 and upwards, for example, has a satellite emergency communication app built in by now. And it works. But I think if you are going on a longer off-road trip or on overlanding, you should not rely on your iPhone or on any other phone. Phones break relatively easily. And secondly, the battery of a phone doesn't last that long. Usually a day, maybe 2, not much longer. The battery on a Garmin lasts days and days, so you can really rely on it for 5, 6, maybe 8 days, depending on the age of the device. And also you have to see that sometimes setting up the satellite communication with your iPhone is a little bit clumsy. Specifically, we are in a forest and you cannot get a straight line to the signal. So I think you should not rely on an iPhone. It can work maybe on a weekend trip, but on a longer, very remote trip, I would not rely on it. The other thing you could use is, of course, a PLB, a personal locator beacon, which is also a satellite-based communication tool which sends a distress signal to an emergency services. And now there are even products on the market that give you kind of a signal back that you see that somebody has received your message, which is also, I think, very helpful in a difficult situation. We have the Garmin always attached to our emergency bag. It stays there usually, and then I can connect it every evening with a cable to a USB charger to make sure it's always fully loaded when we are traveling. The other thing which is very important, no matter which device you use when going on a trip, make sure it works. Test it and make sure the signal is being sent and you can receive signals back as well. The next item in our communications pack is the power bank we have here. It's the 10 ampere hours power bank, and that is sufficient to recharge the Garmin twice. That should normally not be necessary because the Garmin lasts for several days, but just as a backup we have this. Of course, we could also use it to charge our phones if we wanted to, but that is also good to have in the bag. And of course, like with the Garmin, make sure it's always charged. We also have some more traditional communication tools in our bag. So here we have some barrier band. It's something like 20 meters or something like this, just a small portion. And that we can use in case we are going off a certain track, not too far, but too far for people to see us or to recognize us or to hear us. So we can put something like this over the normal track. And then we have some cardboards here, reddish cardboards, which we can then write on, put signs on, write help on or whatever, and shows arrows in our direction. And of course for that we have a pencil, and we have a pencil sharpener, and of course a pen as well. So that is very lightweight, costs nothing, but can be helpful in certain situations. And then the other thing is, which you also have here, is a high-vis vest, which you can unfold and lay out for signaling people from the sky, but also hang it somewhere else. So that might be helpful, and you need to have it in your car anyway, or two of them usually if you are two people. So that is also good to have with us. And then we have this little pocket here with some paper documents in there. We have a list here with emergency contacts in this on a piece of paper. We have our blood groups in here, and we would recommend, if somebody takes regular medicines and relying on it, that you put this on here as well. Luckily, we don't have to take anything, but I think it's very important if you are unconscious and people find you and you need to take certain medicines, that they know. The other thing we have in here is copies of our passports. So in case we lose our passports, then we have at least copies in case we need it. And of course, what we also do is, if we travel off-road, not when we are in the cities or something like this, it's a bit too dangerous, but when we travel off-road, we also have a credit card in here, so that in case something happens, we can pay people to rescue us. The other thing on the communication side is this little a little mirror, where you can also signal with it to other people, to other groups traveling somewhere. It can be quite handy in certain situations and doesn't weigh anything. And by the way, you do not need to write down everything I'm telling in this video today. At the end of the video, I will tell you how you can get for free a complete checklist with all the items I am showing here in this video. Just stick around to the end. The second C belongs to cover or shelter. Even if you travel in a warm country, you might need cover for the night. When we traveled in Namibia some years ago, we had -5 degrees in the mountains at night. During the day it was 20 degrees plus, but at night it became really, really cold. Same is true for Australia. Also there in the deserts you can have temperatures below zero in the Australian winter. Not to speak about countries like Argentina, where in the mountains it can get really, really cold. Some people recommend these rescue blankets. They, I think this one cost me 70 euro cents or something like this. They are very lightweight, very thin, they cost nothing, and I think they are quite good in keeping your body temperature. However, they have some disadvantages, specifically if it's a little bit windy. It's very hard to keep them close to your body because you cannot close them or anything like this. So they are not bad, but I don't really like them for my survival bag. So this one is not in there. What we did is we bought 2 bivy bags. These are similar kind of products like the rescue bags, but they are actually produced like a sleeping bag. So they are closed on 3 sides. You can slip in and you have a comfortable cover that is not kind of blown away by the wind. They cost a little bit more. I think they are around 20 euros each. But if you are in a situation where you need them, I think you will be happy to have these rather than these. We also carry this 200-liter garbage bag or 50-gallon garbage bag, and that is something which we can use to just build a shelter, cover ourselves from rain, or put it on the ground if the ground is wet and we have to rest there. So costs nothing and is very lightweight and can be handy in many situations. And then we have also, to build a shelter, we have some Cable ties, always helpful, a few of them, quite mid-sized cable ties to fix certain things together for your cover. And we have this nano cord, a tart cord. That is, I think, quite interesting because this is very strong and very thin cord. So you can carry much more than if you have paracord. This one, for example, is 300 feet, so around 100 meters. And you can tie a lot of stuff together with that. And it's very stable. This one here holds 16 kilograms. And if you are in an emergency situation, you're not building kind of a permanent residence. You are building a shelter for 1 or 2 nights, hopefully only. And then it doesn't need to hold a lot. It just needs to hold together. And therefore, a nanocord is a really good addition to your rescue bag. The third C belongs to Campfire. A fire is extremely important when you're in an emergency situation. It serves, at the end of the day, 3 different purposes. First of all, if you have a campfire going, you can quickly create some smoke and signal to rescue teams where you are. Secondly, you can use a fire to boil water and disinfect water or to cook a meal. And third of all, a fire is also a mental support. Having a fire going will keep you calmer in a very stressful situation, which of course any emergency would be. And therefore, you should carry some means to start a fire. In our bag, we have several different items to be able to start a fire. First of all, we have big lighters. They are cheap, they are easy to use, they are working most of the time. We have 2 in case something happens to one of them. But again, you need to have a backup. So we also have this little box with some matches, special matches that can withstand moisture and also wind. We have this one in our bag. And we have a metal rod to make fire as well. If anything else fails, this could work. However, I recommend to you that you try it before you go on a trip. I bought this and initially I was a bit frustrated. I couldn't get a fire going until I watched some YouTube videos and found that there are certain tricks you need to know to be able to really start the fire. But this is of course a very reliable source to making a fire. And then of course it's always helpful to have something to kind of speed up the fire lighting. We have a couple of fire starters here which are drained with some petrol product. We keep them here dry. And if they fail, then we have some other fire tinder, also a very heavy duty, which should help us starting a fire. And as a backup, we have still this Gorilla Tape, which we use a few meters only. That can be helpful for other things as well. And also they make really good fire lighters. The next C belongs to circulation or water. Humans can survive about 30 days or even more without any food. But without any water, you might survive 2-3 days, if you're lucky, maybe 4. Although we are hoping that in a real emergency we would be rescued within 48 hours, it is still not very comfortable to be without water. And therefore, we think you need to be prepared to carry some water with you or to be able to disinfect some water. First of all, we carry 2 filter straws. With these straws, you can drink water directly from a lake, from a creek, from a rain puddle even, and it kills around 99.99% of the bad stuff in there. So that is a really well-proven device. There are some limitations in regards to very cold weather, I think. I have not tested it, but if you are traveling in, let's say, Alaska in winter or whatever and it's freezing cold, then there might be some issues with those. I don't know for sure, but that's what I have heard. So you need to check that out. The other thing we are always carrying with us are these kind of water containers. They are stainless steel and they are single-walled. And that is very important. You should not have double-walled containers because what you need to do with them is to put them on a fire or on a cooker to boil water to disinfect it. So if you lose your straws or you don't have them, that is another easy way of disinfecting water if you heat it up in these kind of containers. But if these containers are not single-walled but have a vacuum inside, then if you put them on a fire, they might break or they might even explode. So you should always make sure these are single walled, and then you can heat them up. And of course, the other thing you have to take into consideration is that you cannot rely on actually having water available just where you have your emergency situation. So what we do is we have outside our survival bag, we have these 2 water containers, which contain 3 liters each. And we store them together with the bag so that we can grab them at the same time. This is 3 liters. That is maybe a little bit on the low side. So we are considering buying bigger ones so that we have 6 liters each at least to make sure we have a bit of a safety margin in there. How would you handle the water issue? Please let us know in the comments what you would do and what you recommend. The next C belongs to calories or food. As I mentioned before, humans can survive 3 or 4 weeks, maybe even longer, without any food. Still, if you're in an emergency situation, it is preferred to have something to eat available. So we decided to take these kind of dry frozen food. These are full meals, 1 portion each. So we have 4 portions, 2 for each of us. And these work quite easily. You cut them open, you put in some hot water, let it grow, and then you can start eating them. They don't taste bad, actually quite nice. I tried them. We decided for this brand, but there are many other brands out there. And the nice thing is they also last very long. The shelf life of these ones here is until 2031. So they last very long. Also, we have all the means to make a fire. It is also helpful to have a small cooker. So we have this dry fuel cooker, which you can fold open like this, and then you can put your mug or whatever container on here to disinfect some water. So that these are the kind of solid fuel tablets, and we have some extra ones here with us as well. That is a very small, lightweight item that doesn't cost a lot and can be easily packed into the bag. The last C belongs to comfort. Under this umbrella I have collected a number of items, some of which are not really necessary to survive. However, they make your life a little bit more easy, more comfortable. One thing which is not a nice to have, but it's really important to have in your bag, is a little first aid kit. This one is very handy. It's a very small one. We adopted it a little bit to our needs, upgraded it a bit, but that should be sufficient in a first aid situation if you're waiting to be rescued. Some other things are not as that critical. We have toothbrushes in there. We have sunscreen in there. Some sun protection for the lips. Some wet wipes to clean ourselves up. And of course, then we have some torches, some headlamps, head torches. We have batteries in here, but we put them the other way around, as you always do in these kind of situations, so they cannot be switched on incidentally. And of course, we have a few extra batteries. Another thing which is not necessary to survive, but important to me, is this external drive. It is a 1 terabyte drive. And every other day or so, I save all my new photos, all my new videos on this external drive and put it back into the bag, so that in case we have to leave the car behind and all my camera gear and drone and everything is gone, I at least have the pictures and the videos on here. Another item in our survival bag is a little foldable saw. That is quite convenient in certain situations to cut some wood or whatsoever. However, I must honestly say that I'm not sure that you really need this one. We had it, I put it into the bag, but I certainly the first thing for me to go if I need to make a choice. The last item in the bag is a knife, and that is certainly something that I would always recommend to have. What is important though is that you have a full tang knife. So a knife where the blade goes into the handle as well. That makes sure that it doesn't break easily, and you can even split wood with it and really work with it without breaking it. So that is very important. It doesn't need to be expensive. This one was, I think, 40 euros or something like this. It doesn't need to be expensive, but it needs to be a full tank. The last question we now have to answer is where to store this bag. First of all, it needs to be easily accessible. And secondly, it always needs to be in the same spot so that you exactly know where it is and you don't have to look for it, you don't have to search for it, you don't have to think even where it is. And that is extremely important because in an emergency, you do not have the time to search around. Every second counts. We always keep our survival bag behind the passenger seat together with the water containers. So we both know exactly where it is and where it always will be. And in an emergency, either of us can grab it and take it out when leaving the car. Every time we go on a trip, beforehand we check our bag. We make sure that all the items we want to be in there are actually in there. And during the trip, we never take anything out. Everything stays in here. And that ensures that this bag is always complete. So that was our survival bag. I personally strongly believe that every off-roader, every overlander driving in very remote areas should have such a grab bag. Maybe you want to put in less than we have put in. That is of course absolutely fine. It's up to you what you want to take. But I think it is important that you have a grab bag so that you are prepared for the worst case. At the beginning of this video, I mentioned one item that every off-roader should have in the car no matter what. And that for me is a satellite-based communication tool like a Garmin InReach or a personal locator beacon or any other device that provides the same service. Do not save on this, because saving on this might cost you your life. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe. And if you would like a free printable checklist with all the items in our survival bag, then please write checklist into the comments and I will reach out to you and get it to you.